Hi everybody, for this week's SEL tip of the week, we are going to be exploring how to create calming spaces for your learners at home. So as you can see up on the screen, I am currently on my Coaching Connection website, and you can see that there are two options here. There's another one that we will be exploring that is one that we've had in district for our lesson plan, but let's see what kind of options we have. So this first link here is the virtual calming room. This has been set up by another organization that we can access, and you might want to just use this as tools for your learners. The second option here is creating your own Bitmoji calming space. This was created by Katie Lockhart, who is somebody on Twitter who had shared hers that anybody can have access to. So thank you to Katie. And you can click this link and it'll automatically bring you to make your own copy. So all you would need to do is add your own Bitmoji, or you can have your students each create their own and add their own Bitmoji as well. All of these different images are tools. Okay. Our other option is what we've had in district as our calming space lesson. So this is the actual lesson plan. I'm going to take us to this very top link, which is the guide. Honestly, there's not much different between in person and online. I read through the lesson to make any adjustments, and then I really found it to be incredibly similar, which is wonderful news for us who have explored this. And for my coaching partnerships, you will find that this is very similar. So I do want to go through the questions up at the top, but then navigate down towards the bottom for some considerations. So the first question, you're going to be asking your learners where their space is going to be located, instead of you asking yourself this question in your classroom. This can look very different for every student. This might be just bringing their laptop case a 45-degree angle down. It might be them just taking a step away from their computer. It might be an actual location that they change and go to just flip their minds for a few moments to get them back into a regulated state. Ask yourself how you want students to access the space. Are they going to ask you? Do they use it independently? Do they move an image online of them to an image that says break space? Think about what that would look like for you, and then explicitly teach and practice this with them. Ask yourself how many minutes you would like your students to use the space for, and how to set and use the timer. Again, explicitly practice this with them. I like to start off small. You can always add more minutes later on, but typically I just offer them a choice of either 1 or 2 minutes, and that has been fine across grade levels. Again, you know your students best, and maybe it's a little bit different now with our nervous systems being regulated differently. The next question here is, what kind of tool or tools would you like students to have access to? Typically, you ask yourself this question. Well, now you have to ask your students this question. So thinking about at home, what kind of tools can they add to their toolbox? Down below, we'll share out a couple ideas. Then you'll ask yourself, how do you want your students to reintegrate back into your online learning space? Do they just join in? Do they have to check back in with you? Do they follow a ready sequence, which is linked here? For those of you who have done coaching with me on this, it's the same thing, no difference. So that's, again, a beautiful thing to have these parallels. And then finally, ask yourself if you want to keep data on how often students are needing to take a break on your online learning space. This next section are skills that students typically need for it to be successful. So if you are finding that the calming space is not working quite right, you might want to double check here on those skills. Afterward is the lesson plan, which is basically scripted. And again, not much changes. The main thing that does change is how you might want students to practice. In the past, we did it one-on-one with learners. Well, that's not going to happen on an online learning space, probably. It might, but probably not. So we need to find alternative ways to do that. So let's explore that. So this first bullet point up here is just reiterating the fact that it's the same lesson sequence. You have a circle, you have your mini lesson, you have your practice and feedback and closure. Same thing, okay? So for students to create their own tools, maybe give them a challenge of the week and have them find 3 things in their home that can be helpful for them. Maybe it's a string, maybe it's a rock from outside, maybe it's paper and pencil so that they can reflect or doodle or draw to get their minds in a better state to be able to learn, okay? Or something else. You might want to give them access to view different breathing cards, which are linked in this lesson plan. You might also want to model different types of movements they might be able to do in their break space at home. After they've found their tools or picked their tools, have your learners take a picture of their tools or write down what their tools are and have them post it to your digital platform. This allows them to be accountable for the activity, but also gives you insights as to what tools they're using. And when we are able to come back in person someday, you can see what tools students are using so that your space in your classroom can mirror that. So in regards for students practicing, maybe you have students practice and record themselves to post on your digital platform so that you can provide feedback to them. Or another option might be during your breakout rooms when you're having your small group instruction, you do this as a mini lesson with practice just before you start your content learning. Okay, and then we talked about if there were the digital pieces that you wanted and other skills. There's one more thing I wanted to share with you. So this was shared this week from a teacher that they created their own space in their classroom for them. So they are modeling how they are regulating their own nervous system, which is great for our own self-care as well. And the students are able to follow along with the teacher as they're modeling. So maybe this is another option that you might want to add in your space as well. If you want to explore this further or need support or would like support in creating this, feel free to submit an SEL coaching request. You can find that at the top of the Coaching Connection website. I hope you are all well and good luck creating your spaces. Take care, everybody.